Before the review starts, this is a spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Fred is going to spoil this big time. Spoiler! Fred MacGuffin reviews. Dead Ringers. 1988. Directed by David Cronenberg and starring Jeremy Irons. So David Cronenberg, The Fly, Existence, Crash, Cosmopolis, Eastern Promises, A History of Violence, Naked Lunch, The Dead Zone, Videodrome, Scanners, The Brood, Rabid. Yeah, a lot of cinema classics there, without a doubt, and a lot of controversial ones there too. Yeah, he doesn't flinch away from controversy or giving his audience something that they haven't seen before, or something that's a bit, what's the word, controversial. So yeah, and this movie is about twins, identical twins, played by Jeremy Irons, and he plays Beverly and Elliot Mantle, and they're surgeons, they're gynecologists, and yeah, very successful, very clever. And Jeremy Irons' performance in this is brilliant, and this is done really well, the way it's filmed. I mean, in 1988, I suppose this technology was cutting edge, the way this is filmed, so it still stands up very well. Now, Jeremy Irons, The Lion King, the voice of Scar, The Mission, Reversal of Fortune, Damage, Kingdom of Heaven, The Time Machine, Dungeons and Dragons, Eragon, Margin Call, Die Hard 3, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, Watchmen TV show, House of Gucci, Lion King. So yeah, he's done a lot of great stuff. That's only scratching the surface of what he's done. So yeah, he's great in this. We have Elliot, who's they're like one unit, the two twins, and Elliot would be the face of the twins, the confident one. Beverly would be I think the smarter one, and the one that does most of the research and study, and a quieter type of person, not as confident. And together they're one unit. And Elliot meets an actress called Claire Neveu, and she uses their fertility clinic, and she also starts to date Elliot. Elliot eventually gets tired of going out with her and passes her over to Beverly, which they don't see as a bad thing, but of course it is. But Claire doesn't know about that there's a twin, that there's two brothers, and it takes a while for her to find out through a friend called Laura, who she meets. And Laura asks how she's getting on dating the very famous surgeons that are twins. So she's shocked, and she confronts them. And yeah, and of course she breaks up. She meets them. There's a very tense sort of meeting, and she begins to realize why she thought there was one person, and that they were schizophrenic. She couldn't make out why the different changes in personality from the person she was dating. So Claire is played by Genevieve Bijoul, and she plays Claire. We've seen her in Coma, Earthquake, Murder by Decree, and Tightrope, and a lot more. And she does a great job here. Very subtle performance, and yeah, it's it's a disaster for her. Of course, it is, because she thought she was dating one guy, and she realizes the game they've been playing, the horrible game they've been both playing. So she breaks up, and Beverly is he's really upset because he's probably the sweeter twin. He's a nicer twin. Elliot doesn't care. He's a player. He doesn't really care what's happened. Eventually, and one thing I never mentioned, they do use drugs in their daily lives, pick me ups, and but there's no they don't doesn't seem to be a problem. I suppose when you're a doctor, you can prescribe or get your hands on medicine. So they do have a bit of a problem with you know eventually they do have a slight problem with drugs, but just in everyday use, they don't. It's not as big as it gets, especially for Beverly. So yeah, I suppose this movie does look at the a very special. It's based on a true story, by the way. I'm not sure if it's based on a book or you know is a newspaper article, but it is based on a true story. And yeah, so it's very interesting that way. So you're dealing with a very interesting subject of identical twins, and who are close through all their life, and how do they I mean how do they eventually sort of separate from each other. It's like a Siamese twin story, and one that's talked about in the film. They talk about a Siamese twin that one of the twins died, and the other one died of shock, after realizing their twin had died. So that's something they feel like. They feel like they're bonded together in one body, even though they're separate. And there's one thing that Claire says, after she meets them and sees them together. She says she's seen a lot of creepy things in the film business, and this is worse than anything she's seen. See a scene where Elliot is receiving an award, and Beverly arrives drunk and upset, and makes a complete fool of himself. And it seems like he's trying to sabotage their career, but it doesn't happen. But you see it's on a slippery slope now. That there's cracks forming in their successful partnership, and their career, and the lives they lead, and their connection together. We learned that they have been offered, or Elliot's been offered, an associate partnership at the hospital, and so yeah, their careers are, due to a lot of the hard work of Ellie, their careers are still, you know, successful and still going onwards and upwards. Beverly eventually meets Claire again in an art gallery, and they both start a relationship again. Uh, I suppose she's still questioning, that the relationship is very odd, because they live together in a apartment, and there's the closeness of their relationship, and that they share everything, and that it hasn't bothered Beverly until he falls in love with Claire, the way it's been with Elias, and how they've lived their lives together. She has to go away and leave Beverly and go and make a film, and Beverly becomes very connected to her, and his drug problem becomes worse, as she's away, and she's gone away for 10 weeks, so it has an effect on him. He starts taking more drugs and getting upset. Bev rings her to see how she is, and a work colleague, someone in the costume part of the film industry answers his call, and he gets the wrong impression, thinking it's she's cheating on him, and that makes him, spiral further into his drug problem. It's been affect his work. Ellie finds him in curled up in a ball in a crying fit, and Ellie tries to, make him feel better, bringing him back into a relationship that he's in, and sharing his what would you say, the person he's in the relationship with. And Beverly's inconsolable. He wants Claire rather than, going back to that sharing lifestyle that he has with Bev, sharing relationships. Now what happens to Bev? He has a stroke because he's using all sorts of pills, and Ellie realizes he needs to take him to detox and keep him under observation. As Bev seems to get better, he's still taking drugs, and it's affecting his work. He's seeing, because he's a gynecologist, he's seeing strange things with women's bodies. He's seeing they're mutated, and he creates these strange instruments to use for surgery, and says they're too radical for everyone else. He gets a metal worker, an artistic metal worker, who he finds at a gallery, and a bit of trivia here, you may spot him, Stephen Lack, who plays Andres Wolek, and he was also in Scanners. So, yeah, Bev, who was the rock, the intellectual part of the person, of the two people, is, he's the drugs and he's becoming unstable, and he shouldn't be doing any sort of surgery, but he does. Beverly is caught shooting heroin in his office, and he sacks the secretary when she finds him, and he does a surgery which is basically the finish of their surgical career. He sees such strange, he's hallucinating in the surgery, that he jumps across the patient to get some oxygen to come down from whatever drugs he's taken, and the other surgeons, pull him off the body. The person nearly dies, and they both have their surgical privileges in the hospital revoked, and luckily no one died. And they both say, well, research is the basis of their career anyways, and surgery isn't, and they sort of comfort themselves with that knowledge. So Claire arrives back from her photo shoot, or her movie shoot, and first thing she does, she wants to contact Beverly and see how he is, and why he hasn't rang her, and why he was avoiding her. But he's at this stage, he's paranoid, and he's on some major drugs, and but she still asks him to come over and see her. He does, and he seems better. The week with Claire has helped him, and he writes a prescription for her to get him drugs to help him. He's he's probably just back on drugs that he needs to to function. Um, he wonders why Beverly hasn't tried to contact him, so he's getting worried about Beverly. So he goes to see Beverly, or goes to see Elliot. But before he goes, he takes Claire has found his strange surgical tools, and he tells her they're for separating Siamese twins, and he takes the tools with him that he took from the art gallery. Well, he stole from the art gallery, and yeah, he I forgot to say he passes the art gallery and sees them in the window of the metal worker that he got to make them for him, and he goes in and steals them, um, and yeah, he has them with him when he goes to see Claire. So yeah, she questions these strange surgical instruments, and he tells her, yeah, for separating Siamese twins. So Elliot gets back to the office, or I'm getting confused now. Beverly gets back to the office, and Elliot he's in the same position as Beverly. He's on drugs, and his life has gone to hell. He can't function either. The office is in a state. Yeah, the two of them have got the same problem, and in their drug-addled state, Beverly they'd agreed that they're going to separate like Siamese twins, and Beverly is going to operate an Elliot and separate them using the strange tools he's made, the surgical tools, and he kills Elliot on the operating chair that he's on, that Elliot is on, and yeah, it sort of mirrors the story that they're taught that they of the Siamese twins that they know that they have, that has interested them. Or yeah, I suppose being a twin, you're naturally sort of drawn to stories of Siamese twins, or yeah, that's what they feel like. They feel like they're one entity, and that these twins, the story of the Siamese twins is similar, or something that they'd like to do is to try to separate from each other and live separate lives. One of the final scenes is of Beverly trying to ring in Claire, leaving the university and ringing Claire, but he hangs up. He goes back in. He knows he can't go and start a relationship with Claire and live his life. He goes back into the offices, and final scene is of Beverly lying on Elliot's body, and we don't know if he's dead or if he's had an overdose or if he's still alive, and we're left with that mystery. And or has he died of a broken heart because Elliot's dead? So yeah, that's how this ends. It's yeah, you have amazing performance by Jeremy Irons, and yeah, with what you get from David Cronenberg at its essence is an intellectual tour de force. I mean, his movies never stay the same. He always tries something new, something innovative, and yeah, as I said there, with his filmography, he's always full of surprises and does something interesting. And yeah, worth a watch. I haven't seen this before, and yeah, I've seen a lot of David Cronenberg films, and I usually enjoy them. And I like someone that isn't afraid to, be controversial and try something new and be something to think about, even though we don't get a happy ending, or But yeah, you're always left with like a lot of his movies will stay with you for days after you've seen them, which is a good thing. You're not just forget about them straight away. They leave you thinking, and yeah, I think that's a definitely good thing with art and with movies that you make think and delve deeper into the subject matter. And looking at this strange human condition of twins and you know two bodies and one soul, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd I'd give this three, a 3 out of 5, nearly a 4, and yeah, I recommend you watch it if you like David Cronenberg and you can get your hands on it. Fred MacGuffin's Review. Dead Ringers.